Nothing, there's nothing that would obstruct. What'd you say? Good night. Everyone's leaving. Nothing would prevent us from putting in fence posts or removing stumps or anything like that. That's the reason why the trees are there, because the trees could not be there if a membrane had to be put in and then, fill, cleaned, certified fill had to be put on top. So that's why.
Barry, just want to let you know, Dan Sarnoff, I believe. Dan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. I'm here.
Okay, good. Sorry, Dan's on.
Hey. Yeah. So, go right ahead. I think I know what Jerry was saying about the cap.
Yeah, so just explain a little bit about the cap and the fact that the area there of the property that we own with the trees obviously wasn't didn't need to be remediated because the levels were not they didn't exist over there on the Greenhaven
Yeah,
side.
no, I mean, actually, I think if you look at the overhead of the site, you kind of make up the area, count the area of the cap.
Yeah, it tells you. You can see because it's the cleared portion. That's what makes up the cap.
Yeah.
So it's not the entire area of Taylor's Lane?
No.
Yeah, okay. That's what Jerry was saying before about the Greenhaven side.
Yeah.
Got it.
And honestly, like Jerry said, as long as you don't pierce the cap, I mean, you can walk over the site as long as you don't do anything which pierces the cap. I don't know how deep it is, but I'm sure we get an answer on how deep that cap is. I think it's a couple of feet.
36 inches, Daniel.
36 or 3 feet. Yeah. That's.
Would that inhibit planting trees in that area as well?
So the trees would have to be in raised beds.
Ah, okay.
In boxes and railroad type boxes.
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how about a fence? Same thing?
Right, so the type of fence you'd be restricted. So typically, if you're going to put a post and rail fence, you won't have to go 3 feet. You can get away with 2.5 feet and still be okay.
Okay.
Post and rail, cyclone, whatever kind of fence, you'd still be okay with, so typically a cyclone fence post comes in 8 foot and you'd put 2 foot in the ground with concrete around it and then 6 foot exposed for stretching out the cyclone fence. That's how I built the other one in Jersey. When I built the dog park in Jersey, we went 2 foot down and installed 8 foot posts, which gave us 6 foot of fence. And that was fine for the largest of the dogs.
But we couldn't plant tall trees because they'd be limited to raised beds?
You could plant tall trees, but you would be limiting the roots. So you could create a planter box, a large planter box and put in a tree, but it's a different application more.
Right. It's different. It would be different than just what we have on the
Right.
Greenhaven Road site.
Right, like we typically do.
Yeah.
And as far as removing trees on the Greenhaven side, we could come up with a calculation of what the caliper, caliper in that's removed, and then make it a goal to replace those number of trees, or the same equal number of caliper trees and small trees throughout the village. We could do that, so we wouldn't lose any canopy. We wouldn't lose any. We wouldn't lose trees. We'd be replacing those trees, which is what when the tree law goes through, that's what we expect homeowners to do as well.
Right.
You take down trees, you got to plant new trees, and then we're good with it.
Okay.
And so one more thing on the trees. When I walked it earlier today, there are some big, decent-sized, significant trees, which may not have the prettiest structure or canopy, because it's kind of like in a wooded area, but there's a lot of small trees that, you know, are never going to become big trees. So it's basically now.
And Jerry, would you say, was when we visited it, we didn't really go in too far, but from what I can see, from when I walked it a couple of times, it seems like where the encroachment is the flatter piece of the land.
It is, yep, because
Where we
right
saw
up,
was all,
right up near the bank, right up near Greenhaven, right up near the road, there's a portion of the property that's kind of unusable.
I think we, Sarah, I think we have the report which identifies the extent and what's on our property by Main going. So,
Yeah.
I think we have all the information. And
So the key to a dog park you don't necessarily need to have a 6-foot cyclone fence up against the street or up against the parking lot. You could have a pathway or 2 pathways ideally to walk into the flatter, more level area that's actually the fenced-in dog park.
right,
So
that's what I was getting at.
It could be buffered with trees near the street and then cleared on the inside.
Right, because that's what I was getting at, because I don't think, at least like from what I saw, we weren't able to fully picture it because we only could see so much, because once you get in there, it's wooded and then
Yeah, but
all his crap's there, so it's hard to get to see the entire piece of land. 'Cause
But
it's
Jason, the
1.08.
other disadvantage that you have when you go to a site like that is that you typically stand on the road and look in. And it might be beneficial for some of us to go in and then look out to the road to be able to see that it's a completely different, the property has a different character than standing at the road, looking in and trying to envision, you know, a fenced in area that people could potentially enjoy with their dogs.
And I know members of the committee were also concerned about that house on the corner of Greenhaven. And then there kind of goes into like a hole, like it kind of dips into a hole. And I said, I don't think we would even come anywhere near that
No.
house.
We wouldn't come anywhere near. And in fact, near the street, the way I saw it today, we'd have a buffer of trees and brush. It wouldn't be much. But they would, you know, we would need to have a flat, clear area or somewhat flat area, parking lot, unpainted, unlined, just a stone parking lot. And then whatever the dimensions of the dog park that we could, you know, take advantage of the property without going near the membrane. We're reclaiming our property that Mr. Mangone might be using, all of those, you know, all of those things. That's
I spoke with Jerry yesterday. We're going to ask our engineering consultant to draw up like a conceptual layout for a dog park out there. So I sent him the survey yesterday, and we'll meet with him next week to kind of give him a overview of what we're looking at.
I'm meeting with our consulting engineer next Thursday, be at that site after we have our monthly meeting.
Do we have control of do you think we're going to get the property back from Mangone's anytime soon?
All I have to do is issue a notice to remedy and give him a date.
Okay.
And if the stuff's not there, we start hauling it out of there and he pays the bill.
Okay.
That's how it works.
So,
But as long as there's no first possession of public property.
Yeah.
so if we were trying, so it seems like from the village's perspective, the easiest, the most practical site is the one on Greenhaven Road.
Let me put it this way, if I can, Nora. It will be the site that we will probably achieve success because it's unused, it's in our control, it's not encumbered by anything, and the least amount of residential neighbors live near that site.
Would we be able, if that's going to be where it is, would we be able to use a portion of the field that's considered the Towers Lane field? Maybe to put the parking there, or just to make that area just a little bit bigger than it is, because it is quite small. I think you're right. You know, like my perspective, standing from the road, it looks one size to me, and probably when it's cleared out, it'll look a lot bigger, but I still think we probably need more space there.
Yep.
Or at least to put parking, on top of, just pave it over.
We can certainly put parking on the membrane portion of Taylor's Lane. No
Okay.
problem there. No
But-
problem.
But when can we do that? I mean, my question is, when are we going to do something with Taylor's Lane?
So,
So-
as far as the final closeout, is that the question, Dora?
Well, I guess once there's a final closeout, do we then have complete control?
Yeah, we as long as we don't puncture the cap, that's
Okay.
kind of the covenant is just we don't. As long as we don't puncture the cap, we can use the site, as needed, I believe. I told you the other day, I'm hopeful that by the end of the year, it'll be done. I spoke to our consultant at Chazen yesterday, who's helping us with the closeout. All that we need to do is just revise the site management plan and have that approved by the DEP. So at this point, the final draft is being reviewed at Chazen. That'll be sent to me and Jerry. We'll sign off on it. Then it goes to DEC, and once they approve it, they're just going to start the paperwork to do the closeout. When I spoke with our consultant from Chazen, his name was Kevin McGrath, he basically said that everything in the site management plan is basically what they were told to put in there by DEC. So hopefully it should be a pretty quick process at this point. But I've called our state elected officials before to get DEC to move. If I have to do it again, I'll do it again. So I'm not afraid to bring the hammer down on them, or if they don't get their act together.
Nora, the only time that we were able to successfully move this project along is when we called Shelley in Steve's office.
Right.
They weren't listening to us, and they didn't really care. So, but the testing will go on until natural,
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
clear.
and it's probably going to move from quarterly testing to annual testing.
Mhm.
So just
Okay.
once a year.
Mhm.
So-
That was kind of the.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I came in late. So I'm a little bit confused. Did we make a decision, or is that
No.
just, okay, because what happened to the Rushmore area? We don't want to do that. We don't think it's a good idea, and why?
No, we didn't discuss it yet, Cindy.
Oh, okay. I just
We
came
didn't
in
discuss
late,
it.
so I'm not really.
Yes, right now we're only discussing the Greenhaven piece.
Okay.
But to your statement, it did sound like the conversations were kind of pigeonholing us to the Greenhaven
Yeah,
site.
that's
That is-
why I was
So-
so confused.
So,
No.
so
Okay.
let me, so it's your job, right? So it's my job to take direction from the board, and when they say this is the location of the dog park, it's your job to determine what that location is. But I just wanted to let you know.
Okay.
nothing's
I
really
ask a
standing
question
in our
about-
way.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What does it take when you're saying, like, as long as we don't puncture the membrane,
Yeah.
like, what does it take to puncture the membrane?
A post hole digger putting a fence post in. You have
Like how,
a screw post hole digger. It's got to be a mechanical tool. You can't just do it with a shovel, Tina.
okay.
It's got
So
to be a
even
mechanical
a
tool.
car, even a car driving on muddy
Oh, no.
grass
Uh-uh.
wouldn't do it.
Or
No.
an animal digging through it won't puncture it.
Nope, no.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
It's got to be something with some force.
okay.
the method used on the Taylor's Lane site is the standard method. And, these types of things are done all over the country, and sites are reused to the best extent they can.
Dan, when you say the standard method, I think that needs to be explained because not everybody knows what a cap is, and not everybody knows what the standard method is to put in a cap. Because you can put an asphalt or concrete cap, you can put a vegetative layer, you can have a drainage layer, you can have a geomembrane. There's a lot of different ways to cap property. So I think that needs
Yeah.
to be explained because we don't know how it was done.
Sure.
Okay, I can get a more, technical answer. And kind of my knowledge of, what makes up the cap is, 10 years old from one of our former engineers. and he had been involved in projects like this throughout the country. Basically, it kind of, and what's the best way to it compressed everything so nothing moves anymore, type of thing. But I'll get a more technical answer of the description and nature of the cap, and I can send that out.
Okay, that would be helpful, and because I know, like,
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I don't have the technical expertise to adequately describe what it's made of and how it works. So I will get that.
Just because we're talking about this, and one thing that I know Marissa had brought up last time was that you want to create a dog park that people are going to go to.
Yeah.
And to create a dog park in a place where people have safety concerns and then they don't come, you've wasted a lot of time and effort and energy into creating this, and then nobody wants to go because they're afraid of the leachate coming out and toxins and arsenic, and what if my dog gets cancer down the road? Because if you think the first thing people aren't going to think of if their dog gets cancer down the road is they got it from Taylor's Lane. That's
Right.
just what's going to naturally go into people's heads, if people will go at all.
Okay. I will get some more technical information. Yep.
Yeah, I can provide the committee with a little bit of information. So the monitoring wells are set at different levels because the DEC's concern is the contaminants catching a plume or an aquifer and moving the contaminants that are way deep in the ground over to other areas that potentially could have private wells. So there may be some people who still have private wells. There may be some people who are connected to waterworks. And so the biggest concern with contaminated areas like that is the movement of the contaminants underground.
Right.
The reason they put the layer in there is to make sure that municipalities and others decide not to put a giant building on the property where they're digging down to a level and installing a foundation and all of that stuff, which of course is going to, disrupt all of that. And so that membrane is there, in essence, Carrie, so that stuff doesn't come up, but stuff doesn't really come up. It goes down. And so the membrane gets installed and then certified clean fill gets put on top of it. So everything above that membrane has been certified as non-contaminated soil, which is a big part of the expense of these cleanups because you have to get that type of material. So it's really everything that could potentially harm people is underground and stays underground and moves in a lateral or maybe spider web fashion throughout the community, potentially impacting other private wells and into bodies of water. That's their biggest concern.
So what about what Dan had written about the orangish rusty water migrating? What is that? And how is that ever going to be controlled? Because
so there's something, so the DEC relies on natural attenuation, meaning eventually it'll leach through and clean up. Just like if you had a bucket of rusty water and you turned on the faucet, eventually as you put clean water in, that dirty water goes out. That's what they rely on. There's no way to get that stuff out of it until it starts to leach and move through and then goes to levels where it's not a threat for them or it's not a concern for them anymore. That's what they rely on.
And so, that's been happening for 10 to 15 years.
Long time.
What do they say? It can leach out for 25 years, 100 years?
100, but not leach out, move. It can't leach up. It moves throughout the subsurface. And it could take a long time. It could take a long time. That's why they'll switch us to annual monitoring until they realize that, okay, you don't need to monitor anymore. And then you don't have to monitor anymore.
And do we know what the monitoring results are as far as what they're finding in what they're testing? Are they still finding the toxins and contaminants? Or what are they finding?
We can share that with the dog committee. We share the dog park committee and provide that. And but they would not have upgraded us if they didn't think that the natural attenuation that they're relying on was actually working. But we could get that information. I don't have that.
Okay. Because I think that's important for us to know. Like I said, I think we as a committee have to feel comfortable with whatever property we put forward, because if we're not comfortable, we can't expect the public to be comfortable. So,
Right, so-
we have to be confident in wherever we decide to move forward.
So we can talk about Harbor Island Park for a little bit as far as comfort level and contaminants that have been buried. My basic understanding of Harbor Island Park is that it was filled in with soil that was removed from New York City.
Harbor Island was?
Yeah.
Harbor
totally.
Island was, yeah.
It's all landfill.
It's all landfill. It's
All landfill.
So Harbor Island is one giant filled in piece of property, right? I guess there's a term for it, but I just don't know what it is. But it may not be out of the realm of possibility that they filled in Harbor Island, not just with soil that they dug out of the subways, but also other things that needed to be buried. And that's the reality of where we live and you know, of our communities and the fact that we live near the city. Barry, have you ever heard or known of other things that have been buried in Harbor Island Park?
Cars.
I think the biggest thing in my time being here was we picked up a roof when they were doing a part of the roof from an old car. A lot of railroad track
Ties?
yeah, that would,
Metal or the wood ties?
huh?
The metal from the tracks, the metal from the rails?
Metal from the tracks.
Right.
A lot of bottles though. We got bottles that go back from 1900.
I actually, Charles, one of my office staff, he'll walk around and do cleaning up on his lunch because it clears his mind. And we have an old bottle and he traced it. It's like a milk bottle from like the 30s. And they found it in the West Basin, buried, intact.
So there's some portions of our community that have that kind of characteristic. I get the fact that, you know, people don't want to bring their dog to a spot where they could potentially get cancer. Nobody wants to do that.
Of course not.
But at some point, with data and science, we can demonstrate that this dog park that we're building in an area that the DEC didn't have concern over could potentially be built on that location and not have a problem. Yeah, maybe we'll park our car on top of the membrane portion of it, but that's not really gonna, you know, matter because I guess the concern, Carrie, is that dogs are digging and they're gonna be digging in contaminated soil. I get that. My dog.
I don't believe that. I mean, it's,
Okay.
you know, you're talking about, you've got the clean stuff on top. It's the concern that something, that membrane isn't going to do its job, and
Right.
down the road, it could be bad. That's the simplest way to put it, I guess. So it's definitely something to obviously figure out, and we still don't even, I mean, the state still hasn't even given us the green light, so we have that obstacle as well.
So we wouldn't have to wait for the state if it was in the wooded area though, because that's ours.
Right, that I know.
Yeah, we control that area.
But it is hard to visualize that piece. You know, when we were there, I know like Jason and I walked in a little bit. Fortunately, Jason stepped in some stuff and turned around. But you know, it's just so very congested right now. You can't really see a bigger picture. I also wanted to know if, when you look on the map, Jason, that you had given us, there's kind of three sections on that piece of paper. You have the huge section, which is obviously the cap section that has the membrane. Then you have the piece on Greenhaven Road, and then you have that little almost triangle piece in between the two.
Yeah.
That, right. So that I have to, from my understanding, after talking with Dan, is that triangle piece extends to where the stockade fence is.
Right.
I saw Old Man Going stuff back there originally and didn't realize that that's our property.
So
When you
is
look on
that
GIS,
piece?
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. So is that piece part of what we would consider as being part of the dog park if we were to create it there? It
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's
just
why-
be a small little narrow section. It would be
Right,
that plus that little triangle-ish section. And then if we took part of what was capped as where we would build parking, that wouldn't be part of the space that the dogs would actually have.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's why I was asking Jerry is if the piece that the encroachment is on is flatter, because we didn't go back there, because we couldn't even get past
No, you
there.
couldn't walk all the way back there for
You
sure.
couldn't get back there because it was all blocked off. We couldn't even see the other side of where like the crap was.
No, if I had
and that's a
boots
big
on, I would have
portion.
walked back there. I didn't have the right shoes on to do it. If I had boots, I would have just tread through, you know,
It's a
like,
big-
I don't
it's a
mind.
That's a big portion of it that we didn't see. We only saw it from the street in.
Correct, and it does look very small. So does anybody know the actual acreage of those two pieces combined?
So I think it's 1.2 acres, I believe.
With
Jason,
both
send
of
me
those?
that map because I don't want to look for it. Can you send it to me in my email?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell how big it is together. I mean, I could
If-
probably do the math, but I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, no, if the dimensions, that's fine.
I think it's
then-
1.2 acres, I believe, or 1.7, but I'll get an answer.
So
Yeah, the part that you had, Jerry, not Jerry, Jason, the colored map you gave us, what you had highlighted in red, which did not include the triangular piece, you noted it as being 1 acre. And that was the colored map you gave us, like the actual
One-
aerial?
The satellite image.
Correct. And you had highlighted it in red and you had written down 1 acre, and that didn't include the piece that Mangones
No.
is currently occupying.
That's why I'm saying I think it's like 1.7 acres. But I'm gonna get right now. I'm just gonna give Jerry the map so he knows.
send it to me so I can calculate it while the committee talks about Rushmore.
So a lot of us like Rushmore. We love the flagpole area, to be perfectly honest, but I mean, in reality, I mean, I looked at all that paperwork and where the staging area is to be for the county. It's unfortunate because, you know,
Yeah.
it would have been nice, you would have had parking already, you wouldn't have NIMBY issues. But since that sounds like that would not happen for several years, I know none of us want to wait that long to come up with a dog park. We did really like the Rushmore side, and the fact that dogs are already allowed there didn't seem like a huge stretch to just put a fence around it and, you know, say, okay, this is an enclosed area now where the dogs can run off leash. Yes, we are aware that there would be a greater NIMBY issue there on that side. But it really is just, it's a nice piece of property that you wouldn't have to clear. And, you know, I feel like there would be a lot less work involved. I don't know. Anyone else?
So Carrie, the piece on GIS is 55,431 square feet.
Jason, just give me
I gotta convert
acreage.
it, 'cause I don't know
Don't
the
give me
number.
square feet.
Well, now he's gonna convert that.
You may as well give me kilometers.
1.27 acres, guys.
Is
Okay.
the two combined pieces.
Yep.
The two combined pieces, 1.27, 1.3.
Let's just round it, 1.3. Okay, that makes
Right. And that was, Carrie, by the way, that triangle piece, that was an estimate. I figured by taking out that triangle, that was probably, you know, 0.2 of an acre, but it makes sense. 1.2 acres is GIS, so I think that's it.
So anyone else feedback on Rushmore? What does everybody think of Rushmore?
I personally, I think it would be very hard to put parking there because you'd have to, I mean, it is a dedicated park, so we have to think about what's going on in the park. I don't think it's consistent with the master plan for Harbor Island Park. And I think the Harbor Island Park Conservancy would probably be pretty vocal about it. So I think there would be a lot of opposition to it. Because otherwise people would have to park, drive down from the Mamaroneck Avenue entrance, park, and then walk around. And in the summer, they'd have to pay to park. Now, I guess if we could have a permit if we're gonna consider it a dog park, part of the dog park permit would be parking in Harbor Island Park in the summer.
Mhm. Well,
See,
I know when,
I disagree. I think that we could create a little, like a gravel area there. It doesn't have to necessarily be, to have a few spots there by Rushmore for parking, like easy way in, easy way out, almost like a circle driveway.
Right,
Kind of.
so Cindy, the requirement is if the municipality is going to create parking,
Mhm.
we have certain setbacks and standards,
Okay,
well, so that they don't bang into each other as they're backing out.
right.
And we can create that or that plan there, but it would take some property, it would take some turf away. If we just use that existing apron that you can get onto the grass, Barry and I get onto the grass and walk through the park to do our inspections. I could have our engineer give you a quick layout of how much property we would lose for that gravel parking spot, so that we would have enough for people to angle in and turn around and not get jammed up or blocked off, blocked in.
Okay.
But if it's a dog park on Rushmore where the parking is on in the West Basin parking lot, then there might be some potential for that. But everyone would have to walk from the West Basin around the water, along the wall to that dog park.
which we did when we went to go see it.
Yeah, so
It's a long.
We did think it was a walk. It was, which is why we thought if we could create some gravel parking, so it wouldn't be intrusive, it wouldn't, look like this big, ugly paved parking lot with lines. It could be simple gravel and just put the concrete markings where you would, nose up to or back into. And depending on where it would be, whether it would be, along Rushmore this way, or if, you already have that apron, you have that little curb, that driveway where you pulled in and you put it perpendicular to Rushmore, where you created some spots going in that way, were just ideas we were throwing out to say, how could we, create some parking there, and any overflow, people could park in the West Basin, or they could park on Boston Post Road, where people park anyway to use the West Basin side. Not everybody who uses the West Basin side and where the cherry blossoms are, people don't go park in the harbor. They park on the Post Road, park on the side streets, and then they just walk to the grassy area. So I don't think we should rule it out. I do think we should look at it and see what it would entail.
Mhm.
But I think that if we're going to create, wherever we create a dog park, we have to create parking, because we require anybody doing something in the village to create parking. So I think we can't be the village and say, we're going to park and just figure out how to get there. I think we have to,
Right.
we have to figure out the parking.
Right. I agree with that.
If we give me a little time, I could give you what a potential parking lot size would be for 7 cars, 10 cars.
Yeah.
I would say
That would be
10 is
great.
10 is a decent number. And again, it would be wherever dog park goes. I do agree that it should be a permitted parking, so that people who are pay to use those spots for sure
Right.
have to
I
be the
have to
exclusive
sneak.
use
I
of the
have to
dog park.
sneak off. I'm sorry, but I have to sneak off. I'll be back on if you guys are still on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Cindy.
you.
Bye.
So let's talk about enforcing that, because I get complaints from people who live on Hill, and I get complaints from people who live on Boston Post Road that people park there all day and they use our park. They park there to avoid the parking at Harbor Island parking lot, the main, the west, east and west Basin parking lots. And so this 10-car parking lot would either have to be somehow staffed, or it would have to be permit parking, where they would have a sticker, and it would have to be some kind of, when you're creating a park, because the way I envision it now, you create 10 parking spots there. People are going to park their car, use the park, and leave the car there for as long as they feel like leaving the car there, which in our case happens to be all day because they want to use the beach.
Right.
When,
And
when
we
we
have
were,
permit
when we
stickers.
were there, one idea was to have like one of those arms that goes up and down and have like kind of a key pass.
Mhm.
When they register their dogs for the dog park, they
Mhm.
get that pass and they can use that to go in and out. And another thing that we talked about is that it's already being used by dogs. People are used to going there. And
Yeah.
one of the things we've been worried about is that we're going to do all this work and then it's not going to be utilized. Where there, we know it's already being utilized. And actually, there's been so many positive things written everywhere since the hours were approved and extended. And I was down there yesterday and there were so many more dogs than I've ever seen. And people just happy. So like, it's to us, it seemed more natural because the dogs are already there and they're already there without parking. So they're parking somewhere or they're walking from home. So we thought that it was just a better overall spot.
Okay, and I'm going to throw a wrench into this real quick, but
Jerry.
parking in a parking spot, parking lot with a mechanical arm does work. It would work because when I built the dog park and created the dog park where I used to work, you could not use the dog park unless you register your dog and pay for the license. And at that point, the license fee included a key fob, like I have for the Avalon to get in and out of the gate and my apartment, right? It looks like this, little thing like this, right? So a person with a registered licensed dog would get one of these. They would get two of these if they wanted to and just pay an extra fee for a second one. And they would go into the dog park. And this is how you get into the dog park. You'd flash this in front of the lock. It would open up. You go in. You'd be in a closed-in gate. The second gate would not have this. And you put your dog in that, and then you'd walk in when it's safe to walk in or to walk out. And what it did was it took our dog licenses from 100 to 560 in 1 year. So
Wow.
revenue producer for us, and it was great, and it worked out because this was our control. In addition to this, we had the locks, which were battery operated, that could tell if I brought my dog Josette, my beagle, into that dog park and bit another dog and then left. I get a police call or I get a police report that a dog was bit. Now I know. Now they know it was me because I was the last one there, or at least one of the last ones there, and I would be interviewed for that. So it was a way for us to manage that. And I'm hoping that we would be able to implement all of those safety features like I did where it was. And it cost a little bit of money, but it really wasn't that bad considering that our insurance broker, which is another issue that we have to deal with, was very happy that we had these kinds of controls. The wrench is going to be, in my opinion, and Nora is better at this than I am.
I don't know.
The political, the number of people who are going to be against this location may actually outweigh the people in favor of it by a significant number. And that's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough hill to climb. And I'm only here for a little while, and it's not like I'm not aware of, the environment that gets created in communities, but that's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah, if you're referring to the Rushmore lot,
Yeah.
Rushmore side, just a couple of years ago, we talked about maybe 3, 4, or half a dozen parking spaces just to help people access the playground, and it was brutal.
That was where Richie was here, right?
Yeah.
Yep, it was.
So
Who was the resistance from? Was it the neighbors or was
Yeah,
it
it was residents in Orienta for the most part.
they have an association, Carrie. They got like 750 people belong to the Orienta
Yeah.
Point Association. And I mean, it's not like I'm not up for a good fight. I'm always up for a good fight, but it's going to be, it's so.
And
Well,
I
it's
think
700 people in a community of how many people?
20,000.
And exactly. And so I think if we really wanted to pursue the Rushmore side, it has to be with the full support of the board, and the board is going to have to dig their heels in and stand up to the 700 people.
I don't think that that's a realistic request, Carrie. I mean,
I
think that's because it's 700 organized people versus people who aren't going to be all, you know, going to be a group. It's not going to be a logical group. So I will tell you, it hasn't taken a lot to make it almost impossible. It was hard to get dogs in Harbor Island Park. It was hard. It's very hard to get a tree ordinance. So I don't know. I'm not sure that, you're going to have to make the board really believe that this is the best alternative. And I think people are going to, personally, I'm concerned about putting a fence in this part of the park because of the vistas, because we have passed an ordinance where you have to control heights all around so you don't block a vista.
That's correct.
And the vistas are coming out of the park. It's vistas from the park, not into the park. So I think it could be a hard sell.
We've talked about putting pavilions in. We've talked about, Jason and I and Barry have talked about putting pavilions in, and the locations that are ideal. Is the reason we haven't done them yet is we haven't even moved forward is because it ruins the vistas, and people, it's a big one. That's a big one. We have in the middle of lands of field, but you start adding more to that, it gets rough. So that's the wrench. That's the tough part. It's tough.
And
I get that. I mean, I do get that. I just strongly believe that it's like, when you cater to the minority, and that's just, I don't know, that really bugs me.
Well, I think you could argue, but I think you could also argue that the proponents of a dog park are another minority. I mean, it's different interest groups, so there's going to be competing.
Of course, it is.
My other concern is that this isn't part of that's not part of what's in the Harbor Island master plan, and I actually think it's time to do a new Harbor Island master plan, but because this one was done such a long time ago and the tennis courts haven't been reallocated. But I think it's going to be a hard sell. And it's interesting that this was not one of the functions that was ever considered in the master plan.
I thought that there was consideration for a dog park in the master plan because I had inquired about it back when the master plan was
I'm
revised.
looking at it right now.
I don't remember a dog park component.
I don't remember dog park.
I don't think it ever stated where.
Huh?
I don't think it ever stated where, but I'm gonna dig and I'm gonna find my email and see.
I mean, I can send the master plan to everybody. It's not, it doesn't even mention dog.
In appearance.
Yep, in appearance.
Is there
Hi, puppy.
So,
are you referring to the 2012 plan or the one that we're working on right now, or both?
The original one.
the original one.
I seem to recall that.
KRF one.
Yeah.
Jason,
It's a 2004 one.
Plan.
bring
Okay.
up the New Rochelle side of the sewer plant on the screen, if you could, please.
Who?
With the blue spruces, Jason. Jason has to bring it up on the screen. I want to talk about a different location. When we're done with this, I'm sorry. I know Nora was going to look through the plan to do a search.
Yeah, I mean, the 2004 plan doesn't talk about it at all, and I can't find the 2012 version.
We can look for that here.
I
So there's a location that maybe the committee may have talked about, may have not talked about. And Barry can explain a little bit how this area is used, but Jason will bring it up. Jason, it's the row of blue spruce along Boston Post Road. Right. So this is it here. So if we look at on Boston Post Road, there's a white car. From there, yeah, right, the first white car next to the, that one right there.
Mm-hmm.
That section towards that soccer goal, potentially it's a flat, open area. It's used now for practice.
Mhm.
It's a general area. But if you look at the line, so you see those spruce trees are planted on village property.
Mhm.
And behind that, of course, is the county property.
This is county property. Do you see that highlighted blue?
Yep.
Yeah.
The line?
That's the county property.
That's the county, and then
So-
this is our side. So the black
So-
line will.
So the spruce trees divide, are the border.
Correct.
Got it.
So what this has is, of course, it has the parking, which might be metered parking someday on Boston Post Road, but it also has the parking that we control, that we gave up during construction, but we control the parking behind the sewer plant.
Mhm.
So
Right.
it's adjacent to a parking lot.
Mhm.
It's a paved parking lot. It's an area where we can easily control, because we bring out the fence to the parking lot line. And if you could see, there's a variation where the grass is greener and then it's kind of
Yeah.
worn, right? So if you look at that block, there's a potential here for that. Now, Barry, what do
Go ahead.
the kids use this for now?
I'm sorry, say again?
What do the kids use this area for right now?
Just for practice?
Just for
Soccer.
practice, that's it, right?
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Jeff. This actually would be a great place for a dog park. Two things, really. One, because of the parking. Two, you don't have to worry about the flooding either. Behind the flagpole and all that stuff, when we have high waters and everything,
Yeah.
that really gets flooded a lot.
That does get flooded, you're right.
Place here,
And so does the Rushmore area, right? And the
Correct.
Rushmore area does too.
Yeah, the Rushmore area always gets flooded.
so over here would be a great area for, because it's flat. We can actually build it and do what we need to do quickly.
I
Okay,
can install trees. We can install trees for shade. We can install the fence ourselves. We have water. We can tap into the water line, not our water line on the park side, but the road side. So we can have a metered water pit to have a water fountain and those kinds of things. And basically, it's a clean slate. It's an open slate. Now, as far as the size, I'd have to figure out what it is. And there would be potentially, two different size parks there, or aside for.
Where is Tina here? Tina will know more about how it's used.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, sorry. So that's the only spot that the soccers can use late. Like all the other spots, they have to stop because of the softball. But like that's the only area they can use later. But I think it would only affect a small amount of people. But I feel like it's not big though.
Yeah. How big is that, and how far
I can tell you
over
right now.
would you go?
Okay,
I mean,
can
I agree.
Really?
It's a great spot, but I just feel like it's not big enough.
I can tell you.
All about 10 years ago,
Can I just tell you guys something for a second? We measured it. I measured this for a baseball field about 2 months ago. From here to the back to the fence line where the Little League fence is, it's almost 300 feet.
yeah, we may also actually have a survey of that area, because it was about 8 or 9 years ago, the county did upgrades to the plant, and they used that area as a staging area. So there may actually be an agreement which actually defines what we lease to them.
That box that Jason just drew is 3/4 of an acre.
Yeah, it was pretty
Right.
large.
It's big.
I
But
mean,
it may not be big enough.
It does not affect any of the soccer fields for games because
Right.
that area is kind of out of the way.
Right.
I like the location a lot. I just don't know that it's big enough.
I like the location as well, but only if you can squeak an acre out of it.
Yeah, so if Jason, if you bring it parallel with the asphalt parking line, you might be able to do that. So go from the
The
No.
other side.
I mean, the other
Boston Post
direction?
Road side, the other side. Yeah.
Okay, okay, I got you.
Are
Yeah.
those any of the cherry blossom trees though that are there?
Yeah. So they would stay though. They wouldn't go anywhere.
That's not going to affect any kind
No,
of.
we would incorporate that.
Those are up by the road. I think that's fine.
So Jerry, and let me ask another question. So behind the spruces, is there room for more trees between the
Behind-
spruces?
In front of the spruces, not behind it, because I wouldn't be able to put,
No, not you, but
Oh.
but Georgia does some more trees. Would that be a place where the county could build put some trees?
yeah, so this is, yeah, so this is the reason why we looked at this spot, because Barry, Beverly, and I met out here one
Yep.
morning. And,
Yep.
and we saw, Jason, you have to go up a little further.
Jason, go up to where the tree line is.
Yeah,
Here or up even
No,
higher?
past, yeah, right there. Go up to
Right
at least there and see
Right,
what you
that's
get with that.
right there, yep, right there, shade that in. Yeah, so you have an acre is 43,560 square feet,
There's a little over an acre.
a little over an acre right there. So,
That's bigger than the one in Harrison.
I
Yeah.
think,
Well, the
I
one
think
in Harrison's terrible.
I think if you needed to, you could also move the line into the field more, because the soccer field doesn't start
Doesn't start right there.
until like where it's all the dirt.
Right
Yeah.
there.
I mean,
yeah, but you'd want a little bit, right, no, I agree with you. You want a little bit, but
well, but there's probably also, if we needed to, you can probably shift that soccer field a little more, because that
Yeah.
soccer field is only used for small-sided games, so it doesn't have to be as big as the one next to it.
So-
Is there no concern that there is a baseball field right there and like balls like flying into the dog park?
No, because your fence is gonna be high enough.
Okay.
And the kids
What?
really don't do 300.
those are Little League. Carrie, those are Little League.
Little
Oh,
League.
okay,
Those are Little League.
okay.
I would
So-
like
so-
to keep as much as buffer as possible between the schoolhouse and where the fence is gonna start. Because
Yeah.
that area around the schoolhouse with Little League Baseball, the parents, when they're watching those kids, they go past the schoolhouse, some towards past the outfield pole, which is where this line is here, and they'll sit in here, they'll sit in here. There's a lot of elderly people that just drop a right here, they don't wanna. So I would like to keep as much buffer as possible in this area if we would go
Yeah.
there.
Give me a number of parking spots. So up to just where the white roof portion of the sewer plant is. How many parking
15.
spots would we have? Not in the front, in the back.
Get behind.
Oh, here.
I'm actually wondering, can this wrap behind the parking lot? Can we make like an L shape? Can it wrap?
I'm not sure what this area where the soccer net is used for, right up against those.
Yeah, this is a soccer field here. We can't go into here.
Yeah, I think that's a
But
soccer.
that net is not on the field.
Yeah, that's
No,
not,
but
yeah,
we're
it's not
very
actually on
close
the
to the
field.
field.
But you're close to it though.
That
Yeah.
also, that parking lot is an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah,
If you have, I don't know, Jerry, if you've ever
I
seen
have.
it. When
I
there's
have.
soccer going
Yeah.
on, it's not safe.
right.
Like, I would almost say, like, can you close it off? Can you make that parking lot just for the
Yeah.
dog park?
Sure.
With the arch, all the soccer people don't park there.
Yeah, so this bump out, Tina, right where this pole is, where this light pole is, up towards the top of the screen, that's where you could put it. You'd have parking just along the building side, and towards the end where the blue line, where Jason drew the blue line, I would have yellow hashed out where nobody could park there, so that people could turn around, could pull in, make a K-turn, and pull out.
Well, yeah, because what the soccer people do now is, you know, you have all the parking spots that are there, and then
Yeah.
people will park along the curb, making
Right.
it nearly impossible for the people who are actually in the parking spots to back out.
The
Right.
curb,
And
the curb was supposed to get painted yellow, and there
Mhm.
were supposed to be no parking signs put up, but that was never done.
Yeah, it was never done. That's when I saw it last year.
Right, but because the police can't ticket until that's done. So it's,
Right.
and the other thing is that the balls are constantly going into that parking lot, and the kids are running after
Right.
them,
yeah,
and you can't see with the amount of cars that are there.
So where this light pole,
I would almost not allow soccer to park there. Like use that whole thing for.
From we see where Jason's cursor is, right there.
Yeah.
this is
From
about
there, that
Right,
would be
but
about 28
even above
spaces.
that, there's still soccer fields and there's still kids and balls going into the other part of the parking lot. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
There's a field here, there's a field
There's-
here,
That's 4 fields that you're looking at.
Yep.
right, field here and a field here. 4.
Mm-hmm.
Softball wouldn't affect softball at all. That's not a problem. The baseball diamonds would be intact still, but I agree with Tina with that parking's always scared me that.
Yeah.
with the ball.
Well, so,
Yeah, that parking
while
lot's a
we're-
disaster.
so while
Tina.
we're fencing, can we put some sort of a barrier between the parking and the field?
I mean, a fence would be great because even just not even with somebody getting hurt, but the balls are hitting the cars too. Like,
Actually, Tina,
yeah,
once they're finished doing all the construction, this is all gonna be all repaved and everything.
yeah.
We're gonna get it painted by them, Tina. I'll take care of
Okay,
it for you. They're gonna
so
do it for us.
once they do all this,
Because
Tina,
it was supposed to be done 2 years ago before they did anything.
I know.
Listen,
what it was
Tina.
supposed to be done is 2 different things.
Tina, I spoke with the project manager right
Right.
before the US Open, and I told him that my boss expects a meeting at the location when restoration is done. And he says, whatever your boss wants, he gave us more than we asked, and he'll get it. So they're gonna restore it, and they will paint that yellow if we ask them to.
If you need me to
sorry.
come down, I'll come down too.
Tina, it took us 3 years to paint 6 letters on Boston Post Road that say.
I know, and I don't think it's complete either. I think there's still something missing.
I know, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
You need backup? I'm ready. Let's go.
Tina, we'll bring you in. We need the heavy hit.
Is it
So there's
possible
parking?
to,
Good
is it
cop, bad
possible
cop.
to, is it possible to get rid of the actual asphalt and make it green?
Yeah, like to make it part of the small dogs park. That could be the small dogs area.
Well, just,
Oh.
you can actually make that the entryway. If you're going to be pulling into that lot with your
Correct.
Yep.
dog, that could be the vestibule before you get into the.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yes, and small dogs go one way, bigger dogs go the other way.
That's right.
I see that.
Because if you're walking through that parking lot with your dog and they're watching all these balls flying by from all the kids, you're going to have a really hard time managing them.
You're right, Marissa. So we would need a fence. So there would be a fence there along those, where those trees are. We'd have to put a fence there.
But could you, if I understood what Marissa was saying, or maybe I making this up, could you put grass in that first part of the parking lot up until that little island, and then that area? Could you make that grass and part of the dog park?
We could, but then you'd be pushing parking towards the marina.
There's still a lot of parking spots past that. I think I think you would be fine, and especially if you made it only parking for the dog park.
Yeah.
I think there's 88 spots and a few handicap spots in this lot. I've counted. It's about 88 spots, I think, total in that sewage treatment area.
Yeah,
You
but-
would just, if you were gonna do that and take away that first little section of parking, and incorporate that into like a small dog part, you would just need to make sure that you create a pathway where large dogs don't have to walk through the small dog area. So you would have to have a pathway on one side of that parking or the other, so that the entrance was kind of past the small dogs.
Mhm.
If you were going to incorporate that, because you don't want small dogs walking through large dogs and large dogs walking through small dogs. So you'd have to still create the entry into both areas. You'd have to create it where the end of that parking lot currently exists, I think.
Correct. I think Carrie's right. You'd have to. And put the double gate there so you can choose a large gate,
Correct.
vestibule or the small vestibule, and then go into your respective park, which
Right.
small dog park would be more of a long rectangle, and the larger dog park would be more of a square.
Correct.
It would end up being.
And I don't think that's a thing. I think that,
No.
you could easily do that where, you know, when you walk in, the small dogs would kind of go back towards where they came from and the large dogs would go to the bigger area.
Yep.
Uh,
So that's a
the-
pretty sweet spot for us, and gets eliminates a lot of the issues that we may encounter
Yeah.
move things forward.
And I think.
Well,
it
I don't think you'll have NIMBY issues, that's for sure. There's no one who lives there.
Yeah.
But it
so-
also makes parking safer. It also makes the playing field safer.
Right. This is my favorite spot now.
Yeah, no,
Tina,
I think it's really.
Tina,
I might have to get another dog so I can use it.
Tina,
Oh,
you don't think our soccer friends will have any issue with it, right?
Don't worry, I'll take care of it. No, they're
Okay.
good.
I also
Talk to
think,
Mr.
I think,
Margocius, because, you know.
I think if you screen
He
it
walks his
properly,
dog down there all the time. I think he
Yeah.
wouldn't mind.
but honestly, if you screened it properly, you know, if you put the fence there that divides the field from that area, and if you put maybe a few extra trees outside of that, make it look a little bit more green. I think if you really made it look nice and you're screening it so that, you know, the soccer kids aren't seeing the dog park and the dogs aren't seeing the soccer kids,
I
I
agree.
think it could work.
It has to be aesthetically pleasing too, you know,
Correct.
we don't want a box with a
You're
fence.
Right,
catching,
we don't,
I think
You're
Jason
catching
was
public
worried about
roadway.
losing the space for practice.
yeah, I'm not sure if that's,
But Jason, I think that area, but I think that area is used more by people that don't have a permit to use it than by soccer.
Yeah, that's
Like
correct,
people
Tina.
giving
They don't
private
permit,
lessons and-
because I have a name in the recreation software for when they do permit it, and it's like the post road field, I call it, and it's very random, maybe a handful of times a year.
right.
That soccer permits that area, and I've never given a permit to anyone else other than that, and
No, the only time
you guys are right. There's always like lacrosse, someone trying to park their cars there and just sit down and play soccer, or play lacrosse or whatever, because it's easy access.
So I don't see it as a problem for soccer.
I don't think so either, as long as we don't go past where the paved line goes, we shouldn't have a problem, because we're not taking away any game soccer fields.
Does anybody know what the approximate size of the Colchester Park is?
about
Does
what,
anybody know
what did you say, Marissa?
What the approximate size of the Portchester dog park?
No, I've been trying to find out and I can't figure it out.
So, well, I mean,
Listen,
I
I'm
can
gonna
get
be
you the
up in
square
Portchester.
footage.
I'm gonna be up in Portchester tomorrow. I have my wheel in the car. I'll go and measure it.
Oh, Barry, you're the best.
All right.
Sorry. Because that would just give me a better visual of, you know, what this park could be.
I agree, Marissa. It is hard to see it. And also, you know, I know we say it's nice and flat. Flat isn't always the best either. Like dogs, you know, they like different, you know, terrain and to run. And that's what's nice about Portchester is that, you know, it isn't flat.
Right.
So if, you know, we have to kind of see how we would kind of lay that all out. But I totally agree with you on that.
Can we add things into the park?
We can,
Okay.
you know, I mean,
Make it more interesting.
Rushmore was flat also, so.
Rushmore wasn't totally flat though. It had a little bit of sloping areas, which just made it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah,
So
so
the-
Terry, do that. So we can create those mounds. We can create those mounds if that's
Slopes a
something
little
that
bit
could work.
Say again, Tina?
She
I think Tina's frozen
I
and
think that slopes a little
Goes
bit,
up.
like gradually.
It does.
It slopes
Can you hear
down
me?
from Boston Post Road.
yes,
Can you
yes.
hear me?
Yep. You're a little gargly, but I can hear.
Yes, that's what I was
And
trying
it
to
doesn't
say.
typically flood.
It doesn't flood.
I just think we want to be, you know, have a real good vision of what kind of a park we're creating here. You know, to further to what Carrie was saying before, you know, if you just want a typical, like, you know, like a dog run that's in Manhattan or something, that's just a green space for dogs to run around in. I mean, you know, I deal with dogs all day long. I know that just gets very boring for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, you know, to have different terrains and different, you know, slopes and lots of trees, like, we have to really factor the space in for that. Otherwise, it just becomes a kind of
box.
a backyard, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a lovely area, it's a lovely space, but if we have the room and we have the ability to make it something more than it is right now, that would, you know, would be good, but I'm not so sure you can accomplish that in the amount of square footage you have there.
Yeah. So that kind of brings you back to the Greenhaven site, which you can do all those things
Right.
and not have to worry about, well, parking's not a problem here and parking's not a problem at the Greenhaven site.
Right.
But there's a character at the Greenhaven site that you could potentially unlock that this doesn't really have much character. It just happens to be a very convenient,
Yeah.
centered, you know, in Mamaroneck location. So, I mean, it's dead center probably, close to dead center in Mamaroneck.
Yeah, and very visible.
Yeah, very visible, right?
Well, I think the location at the harbor is better for that reason, just because then it's more accessible for more people. I think it's more walkable for more people. And then, you know, you wouldn't have to, you know, people worry about who's parking because people might walk. I don't know. I'm not 100%. I'm not sold on the Greenhaven side.
Yeah.
Like I said, I need a lot more visualization for that one.
Yeah.
Question
I
on-
do.
So,
I like the spot at the harbor, but again, that also requires some creativity to make it into something more than just a fenced-in box.
So if the committee is willing to look at characteristics of other dog parks that potentially could be built in the plain box that's next to the sewer plant, capable of building those kinds of things. We're capable of building this entire park with our existing staff to be able to get it done quicker and with a lot less expense. But go ahead, Nora.
Do we have any limitations as to filling? You know, filling in, I mean,
Right.
filling
So
in landfill?
I wouldn't want to create more character than what the committee has seen on the Rushmore side, where there's these mounds, I guess, for a better term. But we can certainly plant trees, certainly install benches. We can certainly install water and a fountain or multiple fountains, especially for the dogs down, you know, the combo fountain. It's got parking. We can close off the parking just for dog park users. We can regulate that. It's got a lot of, the capabilities are easier for us to develop. I'd have to create all of that at Greenhaven from scratch. And that's going to take a lot more work. Maybe not a lot more money, but a lot more work.
And Jerry, if we want to get creative, there are playground manufacturers that we use sell components for dog parks, little
Right.
obstacles, little things that look like rocks, like they
Inclines, right? Little inclines.
yes, they sell all, there's catalogs full of it, like, and you pick it out like you would a swing set. There's options, and then it goes in the ground, and you know. So
in
you
addition,
can, you know,
in
do that.
addition, we could put in shade structures. So what you'll have at Columbus Park pretty soon is you'll be able to see a shade structure that Barry and Jason contracted with our playground people, where we can install a shade structure where people can sit down and not have to worry about getting pounded by the sun all day long while they're sitting there or having their dog run around. Those kinds of things. I mean, trees are great and it's easy to plant them, but it's going to take a little while before you get some shade from a tree that I could potentially plant there. So there's a lot of capabilities there. Thinking about it more like a playground for dogs may be a nicer feature, but I haven't been to Portchester to see, you know, if
I was just on the website looking at the dog park. It's probably be about the same size of what we're looking at right now, okay? From what I can see, the way it's fenced in and how they do the big dogs and small dogs, and when they walk in, it's really not that big. Okay,
Jason, what street is it on? Jason, what street is it on?
It's Abendroth Park,
It's at
Portchester.
Abendroth Park.
So the park is 10 acres
Terrain
in total.
Avenue.
Abendroth is 10 acres.
Right, but the dog park, that's why it's hard to see how big the dog park
So
portion of it is, because it's
I
one like
mean-
outline.
From what I can see from like an aerial, it seems like it's about an acre, but
Oh, Barry will have that information. So at the end of the day, Barry, by the end of the day, please, when you measure that out, just send the committee what the, you can send me the dimensions and I'll convert it to square footage and
okay.
for the committee, if you do that, okay?
I'll send that to you as soon as I get back.
Yeah, just bring your wheel and walk it off and I'll calculate that.
All right.
By
I mean,
tomorrow.
there's nothing overly fancy at the Portchester Dog Park. It's wood chips, most of it, number one. They have the water fountains for the dogs. They have a couple of benches. Otherwise, they really just utilize the natural terrain. They, I don't think they did, because it was just,
it's here, right?
that's it, right there.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
So,
we got obstruction with the trees in the way, but it looks just like a
right,
dirt surface area with some fencing. and
those are the
stuff.
wood chips. And then
Yeah.
there's grass down farther below.
Right.
So how do you get to the gate to go into this park? Where's the
From
park?
Terrain Avenue, right? You go up Terrain.
Okay, so Jason, if you put your cursor on the playground.
Right here. This is where I go in. I don't know about everyone else.
Okay, so see right where, Jason, put your cursor on the parking lot. So that's the parking lot. You see those cars with the little island in the middle?
Yeah,
That's the parking lot. And if you walk along that,
Path.
not
Yeah.
even, no, it's not even that path. It's kind of more to the right. When we see like that circle, you kind
yeah,
of,
next to that
it's
house.
behind, it's under the trees. You
Yeah,
kind
I
of
heard-
walk in all along that tree line.
Nice.
And then
Right
the
there.
entrance is right in the corner where the dirt starts. You just can't
You know-
see it with the trees.
You know what I do like about it?
And it's
that-
fenced. The,
that-
the
that-
entrance
those-
is fenced.
Those trees are like full canopies. There's a lot of hidden, like you can't, when you're on that soccer field out there, it's nice and covered, right? Like those look like nice trees they got there.
But we have those larger cherries in the area that we're thinking of. We have those large cherries that create that shade along the post road
Yes, they do.
in this park.
So one,
Cherries.
like I said, the
Oh, here it is.
tree line is where you walk in, and then it is fenced. So, right, if you pan to the left, see that where that light post was? Pan back to the left.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Here, entrance,
Yeah, right
No,
there.
keep pan to the left.
more.
Right there.
Oh, all I see is the
Yeah, that's the end of Terrain.
right.
Dog park
See the little
entrance.
green sign?
Yeah, I see
dog
it.
Park
Yeah.
entrance.
I see it.
So you walk along that paved path and it's fenced. It's right there. So see dog park entrance?
Yep.
You
Yep.
walk along that path, you go past the playground, and then you get to the entrance of the dog park.
Right. So you're permitted to go into the park with a leash dog and then get to the dog park, right?
Correct.
You're not supposed to be walking through the playground area. That's why they created that path.
Right.
I see.
Showing you.
Yep.
Mm,
They
Okay.
don't, that's why they fenced it and everything, because they didn't want the dogs to
Right.
commingle with the playground, which
I
makes
see.
perfect sense.
yeah, they
But
got a pavilion there. I get it. Yeah.
We need one of those
So-
pavilions, Jason. It's killing me that we don't.
I know. I really, it's like a dream to have one.
All right.
And
So
I have to say, like, every time that I've gone there, like, there's never that many cars parked. I mean, maybe, I go at, not as popular hours, which is always my goal. I like to go when things are a little less crowded. And, there's, the parking is already there because the park had the parking. So that made it easy to put the dog park. You didn't have to worry about creating extra parking.
have you ever encountered that gate to be locked? That
No,
park entrance? No.
No.
Because the park that I built, I was able to program the locks where they couldn't access the park after 9 p.m.
mhm.
And before 7 a.m. So
I've never gone that late. So I don't really know. And again, the Portchester Park is public because that was part of the condition of the money that they got
From the state.
the money that they won.
But their
So
So they
website
couldn't
says
make
it
it just a resident
closed.
park. Well, it was closed for COVID, so
No, it
I don't-
says it closes at 6. Right now, they say it opens at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So they,
but I don't know if they lock it. I don't know if they actually lock it and someone comes and unlocks it and locks it. That I don't know.
Do they have light up there? Is there light in the dog park area, or is there no lights?
We use
I
9
don't
p.m.
think so.
I don't think so. I didn't see any when I'm looking at it.
Like there's the lamp post at the beginning of the walkway to the park.
Right.
Like I know there's some lamp posts in the park itself. I don't know if the dog park has any additional lighting though.
I don't like building any new structure without lighting. I think our parks are very dark as it is, so. if we need
This
to-
committee wouldn't want the park open at night, right? Like, so it's 9 p.m. because of summer hours.
Dawn to dusk, like,
That's
like,
okay, good.
because some people do like to go to, 6 o'clock in the morning, people like to go that early. Dawn they go. I mean, I know when we take the dogs to Playland Beach, there are people that are there for sunrise every day at
Yeah.
Playland Beach. So,
Yeah, that's nice.
and it's nice because a lot of people who do work, they want to get time in to get their dog out and running around for a while before they go to work. And God bless, because I can't get up that early.
I know.
Yeah, I was thinking like people who are working who may want to walk their dogs after they come back from work.
Yeah, right.
Right. So the dawn to dusk is good. Obviously in the winter that doesn't work out so well, but that's just like with anything else.
Did Cindy
And I think
come back in?
Yes,
I
I'm
see
here.
your name. Hi,
So-
Sin.
Hi.
You missed a big discussion.
Jason, can
Hi.
you show Cindy the new spot? I don't know if she saw it.
She did not.
Uh-oh. What is
Jerry,
it?
Jerry threw another spot at us that we didn't even know could be an
Oh.
option.
Okay.
I think the new spot would be easier to keep, like someone to monitor it also.
Paint the blue box, Jay.
Hold on, I'm on the wrong one. It's two different GIS. Let's see.
So Sin, I'll give you the quick pros of it is
Okay.
that you're not going to have NIMBY issues because it's right by the soccer fields. You already have parking.
Okay.
And if they can squeak out enough acreage for us, and it could be a good potential spot.
So this blue box here, what did we say it was, about an acre?
It was
That was about an
47
acre,
Yeah, it was just over an acre. Yep.
1.3
Wow.
acres.
That's right.
1.3 acres, this blue box.
And that's where? What side? Oh, I see. Okay.
That's right off the post road.
Post
You know,
road.
if like you pull down the harbor, there's that
Yep.
first parking lot on the right.
Yep.
So, and we
Oh,
also
wow.
discussed possibly taking part of that parking lot and incorporating that into part of the dog park and maybe making it a small dog area when you first, and then have the rest of the parking be for the dog park. And it would
Hey,
only
zoom
be
in a
for the
little.
dog park
Yeah, thank you.
That's exciting.
I
to try
know.
to stretch the space.
Yep.
That looks great. Now, what are the cons on this? Are there any?
Well, the size possibly, and kind of just turning it into something more than just a fenced in square kind of a
Kind
thing.
of flat. Yeah, it's kind of flat with a.
Because it's kind of flat. So you don't want, you want to create some interest for the dogs.
Okay.
But
What would we do? That like what would the interest be for the dogs? We'd have to plant trees there, more trees, or
trees.
yeah,
a
you definitely
shade
need some
structure.
trees.
We put a shade structure, benches. We have
okay.
to water, so we just have to run a water line off the post road and connect to a meter box, and then maybe use some topsoil to create some hilly terrain, like you may have seen on the Rushmore side, where
Just so it's not so flat.
yeah.
And it does slope up towards the post road. So you have a little bit of that right there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's not prone to flooding.
As not part of flooding.
Ah,
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of potential.
it definitely has a lot of potential, for sure.
So I guess the question is, do we try to evaluate this and the Greenhaven one to get like comparisons? And I think whatever we decide, we need to explain the whole process to people, so people understand why whatever is the ultimate site got picked.
Yeah, I do think
Right.
it's good to compare them both. For sure. I think it's nice to have options. It's always nice to have options.
I think the Greenhaven site, one is just the option that it could be expanded when we get approval to Taylor Lane.
Stop it. Sorry, my dog.
It could. I mean, but typically, Sue, when you build these, this ends up being how it, I'm not really sure if more than an acre or 1.2, 1.3 acres is, I don't think you're ever going to outgrow it. It's a big spot. I mean, it's a big spot. And you can outgrow soccer fields because so many kids are in that sport. But in something like this, you'll have some users, but I don't know if you'll have a tremendous number of users. I don't think you will. And it'll be local people. So that limits you as well.
Yeah, I think we have to ensure that this is a resident dog park, so you don't get outside people coming in and overcrowding it, because it's such in demand that people, want places to bring their dogs. I do think it has to stay a resident dog park.
And that goes to the licensing and the key fob and managing it that way. That's where.
So if just give me 1 second. So we had a staff meeting this morning or this afternoon. Our clerk treasurer put our dog licensing fees on our rec desk, which is our recreation-based software. So people can now purchase their dog license online. Rec desk has just partnered with a company that does locking systems that tie in with the dog park. So the lock would tie in with your registration, all controlled under one. So we would be able to know if you have your dog license, that your key fob is active now, and that you paid whatever fee there may have been to pay. Your receipt will be in there. So it all can mesh together.
It'll all tie in, and you can't get access to the dog park without licensing your dog.
Correct. Yeah.
Which protects the village more than
protects everybody too. Like really.
Yeah. And it's a one-stop shop, so it's going to encourage people because they can get their dog license, their dog park key fob, and pay their dog park their dog license or key fob fee all in one place at the same time with a few clicks. So that's will be nice. It's going to encourage more people to get the dog license. It's right there. It's going to be easy. It's going to be simple.
And also, this is a site that people who don't live in the village might be more interested in using because so many people bring their kids to games. People who don't live in the village play sports there.
Yeah.
So
it's $30 a year for dogs that are not spayed and neutered, and $24 a year for dogs that are spayed and neutered. I don't know what our annual revenue is, but I don't know if Cindy, if you were on when I was saying that in my previous municipality, our dog license registrations increased by like 500%. So it was a significant bump, and those increases in dog licenses, which people tend to forget and not do.
I'm guilty. I'm sorry. I'll renew. I promise.
Same thing with me, and I'm the manager. So don't worry about that. But it's just that way. I mean, it's not one of the things that's primary on your mind. But if you want to get into the dog park and you will get your dog license to make sure you have access to it.
So
and those fees alone will easily pay for the upkeep and the improvements that we make on this.
And Jerry, in terms of like the maintenance that the Parks Department staff would have to do, is it a lot on a dog park? Like every week? Is it like a once a week thing from your experience like you had in Hamilton?
No, so in Hamilton it was mowing because there was a lot of underbrush. So we would mow it once a month, And so it was a 2.5 acre dog park, 1/2 acre for small dogs, 2 acres for large dogs. And we would mow it once a month with a brush mower. But also most of it was wood chips. And there was a dog park volunteer group that would go in and police it and make sure that it was cleaned up, or that, you wouldn't have too much dog stuff left behind from people who inconsiderate and leave it behind. And then our sanitation or parks department would go there once a day to change the bag out on the 2 trash cans. Other than that, we would winterize the fountains. So in the wintertime, you wouldn't have the water available.
Right.
We'd shut them down, but then we'd start them back up in May. And it didn't take much at all. Everyone was very concerned about that when we first built it, but I knew that it wasn't going to take too much. And there was this volunteer dog committee that kind of like made it like a little friends group, and they took care of a lot of things as well.
So you're just envisioning this to be open to the village of Mamaroneck, or is it the town? Are you expanding it to the surrounding towns for a higher fee like Harrison used to do?
Right.
I mean, we
So,
may
so village, so
I think,
village, but we can expand it if we need to. I did at the dog park that I had, and people were coming from neighboring municipalities, and they were just paying double. So it was a $24 license. They were paying $48.
Right.
It wasn't a big impact, and there weren't that many people. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the town I don't know if the town has a dog park or not.
No, they
The
don't.
town does not have a dog park. The only thing that they have where dogs can run free is Dog Beach, which right now is closed.
Yeah.
Does Larchmont have a dog park?
No.
No,
Larchmont is Dog Beach, not the.
No, that's part of the Dog Beach, which is in the
No,
I feel that we should start with the
Yes, it's-
village and the town of Mamaroneck and see how that works, and then maybe open it up to other towns.
So just so you guys are aware from an operational standpoint, our system's not set up to include town of Mamaroneck as a resident. Because
Oh,
they're
okay.
not. Our system is only set up to take residents that live within the boundaries of the village, including Rhinebeck.
Plus,
Okay.
Nora, our code would have to be changed as well to include an out-of-town fee, just like we have a non
Right.
for docks and mooring.
My suggestion, and I always tell people this, is if you live in the village, you pay taxes in the village, you're a village resident. If you live in the town, you pay the non-resident fee. That's just the
Yeah.
way it is. And that's the way it is for if Carrie, who lives in Rhinebeck, wanted to go to Hammock's Pool. She's a non-resident.
Right.
Yeah.
I
That's true.
pay a Rhinebeck fee. Yeah. I do. I really think to start anyway, it needs to stick with the village, and let's see what happens. Let's see how many users we have. Let's start small, and we may find that that's all we can do, just because of the number of users. And if we find that we want to expand, I think we should cross that bridge once we can get something up and running and kind of see how it goes.
If we put the key fob system in, we can run a report in real time and see how many people are using it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's very unique to anything I've ever, in terms of my career. Like if you build a playground, there's no way to track on a daily basis who's using it. If that key puts it in, we'll get real tangible numbers on
Right.
to the person, which is nice. We'll have a lot of data to assess after we
And
open it.
it's easier to add non-residents than to take them away.
Mhm.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And places that have a dog park, they don't really need to come to the village dog park if they have their own.
Yeah, we just,
Right.
there aren't really many. There's New Rochelle is Ward Acres on one end, and then there's Portchester on the other, and then, Harrison, which is not really a big dog park. And I just brought this up at and I agree with you. I think maybe we should start small and then expand if need.
Right.
I would just be cognizant of the the resources that we have that we're privileged to use in Rye. Anybody can get a permit to off-leash their dog in Rye Town Park, and that's a town. That's not county. That's town. So we just don't want to create a situation where suddenly they're going to get offended and say, well, then, you guys can't use this park either.
Yeah.
So we really want to be pretty generous.
I don't think Rye has a lot more space than we do, and it's not really a dog park. So I think it would be
It's not,
different anyway, but yeah.
but you need to
I
have.
mean, I think that we should start with residents and see how it goes. If it's underutilized, then you open it up to non-residents.
A pilot can be started
keep
and
it in
see how it
mind.
goes.
And I always keep it in mind, I'm not saying we can't, but when we open something up from non-residents, that includes everybody.
Yeah, well,
It doesn't include just Larchmont, Mamaroneck, and, you know, we would have to parse it out then and say, if you only want a certain group of communities to use it, you know?
But in terms of the Hummocks pool, the only non-residents who can use it are village residents who live in the town of Rye.
Village residents.
No, I thought
No.
you could get a non-resident permit.
You have to pay non-resident pricing, but you can use it, but you have to pay non-resident pricing.
No, you have, no, I don't think so. I think you have to, it's only open to it's not open to people in New Rochelle.
Oh, maybe not. It might not be.
Yeah, so I think
know.
if you,
I don't know.
it's, so they have limited the non-residents to people who are not in the town of Mamaroneck, but who are in the Rye Neck section of the village. If you live in Rye, you can't join Hummocks Pool. So.
Well, that's something I think we can look into down the road. I think we should really just have to agree that to start, at least, it's Village of Mamaroneck only. And then see how it goes. And if we want to expand it at some point, then figure out how to expand it, who we can expand it to. Do we have to expand it to everybody? Because that could be a disaster. Expanding it to everybody, to be perfectly honest.
Well, we don't.
I understand Marissa's point of, you know, we use other people's facilities. We don't want to say, well, you can't use ours, but we also don't have a huge space either. So
we might be able to limit it to a cap, you know, a cap of non-residents, like, you know, it's every resident and 100 non-residents.
And create a waiting list.
Mhm.
Yep, that could work.
That's a
Actually,
possibility.
that's probably better to do anyway. That's probably better to do, like I was saying, because then you're not knocking anybody out, and like you can use other dog parks in other areas, and nobody's gonna.
The last.
All right.
Right. I mean, we want it to be used by the residents, but we also don't want to overcrowd it.
At a higher fee, though, there would be the resident rate and then a much higher non-resident fee.
Definitely.
Yeah.
100 sounds like a lot to me. It wouldn't be that many, would it?
Well,
I was just
no.
giving away a number. I mean, I don't know.
I know, but we're recorded, so I don't want anybody to take your word for it.
No, we're not recorded.
These are all just conversations, nothing set in stone yet, right? We're just talking.
Tina, I like having non-residents pay extra money to come use our service. It's one of my big deals. All right, I'm good.
Okay. So what's
I don't
our
have
next
anything
step?
else.
So what are we gonna say now is the next thing? Are we gonna Jerry, you gonna look into both sites, the two sites, and say this is what we can do?
So the immediate thing is tomorrow we're going to give you the Portchester site and the acreage on the Portchester site.
Okay.
And Jason, Barry, and I will work on providing some kind of a narrative for the pros and cons and the characteristics of the two locations. Okay. And I can provide that from an operational standpoint and a cost standpoint. As far as the location,
awesome.
Makes no difference to me. As long as it's in the village, I'll be involved. You guys can decide, but I'll give you the pros and cons. So let me give you, from the operational and construction side of it, and then the committee can talk about, location, characteristics, all of that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you so much.
When do we want to have our next meeting officially on the books?
I gotta ask Sally what the schedule is like, because I know it's all jammed up with Zoom, so I don't think we can really commit to a date, right, Nora, until.
It probably, does it depend really on whether Jerry, I mean, it's really Jerry dependent right now, right?
Yeah, so hold on, let me pop that thing, let me pop my calendar open that,
You want to let us know tomorrow when you send
Yeah.
us the
Or
information?
maybe just,
You can do
yeah, in
that.
the email,
Just
when
send
we
it in
send
an
us.
email saying I can do it on this day. I don't want to, no pressure.
And then we can, because then we can check, so we'll get a few dates with Sally. Is 5:30 still a good time, right? 5:30 Tuesdays and Thursdays seem to be the best time for everybody still?
yeah.
Yeah,
Ideally, the 12th or the 19th of November will work for me, because Thursday nights work for me
Okay,
all the time. So either the 12th or the 19th, and I'll talk to Courtney tomorrow when we get in and make sure that there's nothing that I'm missing. Oh, the 19th, I'm sorry. On the 19th, I'm doing continuing education credits all day, so I'm going to be shot, so I won't even be able to speak at
So
night.
let's say the 12th then.
Yeah, so the 12th would work. The 12th would work.
okay.
So
I mean,
5:30, I appreciate anything, before 7:30 works for me as well, so.
great.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone. This was
I
amazing.
think this was good.
Thank
Everybody,
you.
thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone.
Take care.
Have
Bye.
a good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.